Hi, I'm Joe Roberts, design team member for CreateAlong.com. Today we'll be doing a project with the Gold Bold monthly subscription box. When I got the box this month, one of the first things I noticed was that most of the components that were included had a design that was in stripes. So I decided to use this design detail in my project. We're going to start with a sheet of well-conditioned black clay, adhere it to our work surface here, and we're going to use the tire tread silkscreen. So you want to adhere it to the clay. First I press it on with my fingers, and then we're going to use the acrylic roller just to get it to adhere well. And for paint, I'm going to be using a full-bodied paint in titanium white. I am using the CreateAlong silicone, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's the best tool I've ever seen for using on silk screens. It has got the perfect angle for getting a good image on the silk screens. So I'm going to use that and going to get that paint thoroughly worked into all of the openings of the silk screen. I'm going back and forth in both directions, being a little bit OCD here. Because I want to get a good image here. So now we're going to peel the silk screen off and reveal our image. So you want to take that silk screen immediately and put it in some warm soapy water so that it's ready for the next time you want to use it. So I'm going to pull my clay up off the surface here. I'm trying to be real careful because my paint's still wet. And then I'm going to put it off to the side for the paint to dry. Clean my work surface off and bring over another sheet of black clay. This time we are going to use the bold blocks. No, we're going to use the Western Quilt Stencil. Love this thing. Now, I love stencils because they can be used in so many different ways. They can be used just to create a texture on your work. They can be used to those openings. You can put different kinds of medium in them to create color, or you can actually cut out the little openings. So I'm using my roller to get a good adhesion because I want both. A couple things here. I want the texture, so I want the stencil to be well embedded into the clay. So I'm rolling that on, and then I'm going to use the pigment powder that was included in the box. At first, when I first looked at this, I thought it was like a blue, but once it was baked, it is the most gorgeous purple you have ever seen. And it looks purple on the screen here, but I guess in the lighting in my studio it turned out look blue to me, but it is gorgeous. So you can use mica powder with your finger, but because I'm going to be using such a large surface here, I decided to use a brush. So what I want to do is I want to put it in each one of those openings. So you put it in the opening, but in order to make sure it sticks well, you want to really brush it in, and you want to burnish it into onto the clay. And any of the excess, you're just going to brush it over into another area of the stencil, and that way you don't have any waste. Now, if you were worried about waste, you could have always put a piece of copy paper underneath here to capture any of the excess and put it back into the container. I didn't have any excess because it was such a large area. I was just pushing the powder around to the different areas. So there it is, completely done, and now we're going to pull the stencil off. And be very careful with this stencil because those openings go all the way to the edge because you don't want to break it. And the reveal is the best part, right? There it is. Isn't that gorgeous? So we're going to pull this one up off the surface. And we're going to clean our counter again. And this time we're going to put down a piece of paper and put another sheet of clay down. And I'm using a piece of paper this time because I wanted the clay, I want to be putting a lot of pressure on the clay this time, and I wanted it to be on paper. I thought it would be easier to get it off. So this time I'm going to be using the sheet of metal leafing that's included. Full confession here, I'd never used this stuff before, so this was an adventure. What this is not metal leafing. This is a product that the leaf is actually underneath, and then there's this film on top that once you burnish the leafing down onto the clay, you pull that piece of plastic film off and then the leaf stays. It's really cool. I decided, now you can use how it stays on is with friction, heat and friction. So you can use your fingers and do this. I've seen people use all kinds of different things to get it to stay. I decided to use a 2-inch stamping block, and at first when I started I was like, oh, this is the worst idea ever, but I kept at it, kept going, and it actually turned out pretty good. One thing I will say is don't have any extra clay on the edges because it got hung up on it. So here you'll see I end up cutting that clay off the edges, and things went much smoother after I did that. But look how shiny that is. I did not notice it until I started doing the video. You could see my hands. It's like a perfect mirror. It's so cool. So continuing to cut off that clay, and then I'm going to finish the burnishing. And when you rip this off, I'm sorry you're not going to be able to see that because I didn't have it in the camera well enough, but when you rip it off, you're going to rip it straight back level. You don't lift it up when you rip it. You rip it level with your counter, and you're going to rip it like you rip a Band-Aid. You rip it really fast. And the beauty of this product is if it doesn't all come off the first time, you can put it right back down on the clay, burnish it again, and try it again until you get all of that silver leafing off of the film. So no, you really can't mess it up. You just have to have a little patience with it. So here I am ripping it off, which you can't see, but that's what I'm doing. And there it is. So I'm happy to report my very first time using it, and it worked. Yay. So now I'm going to use the texture stamp and pull dog's hairs off. And this is the Bold Blocks texture mat. And I was amazed how well this metal leafing takes texture. Almost too well. because I end up getting a double image a little bit on this first side, but it is absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Oh my. So I'm going to do the other side here. So now once you get all these done, you can do whatever with these veneers. They're absolutely beautiful. You can do whatever you want. But like I said, I've decided to do a project taking advantage of the strip detail or the strip design. So what I've done is conditioned another sheet of black clay at the top there, and I'm going to cut off strips from each of the different veneers and put it onto the black clay, kind of like you would a Bargello, but I'm just going to alternate them, not in any kind of particular order, just taking turns. Now one thing I will say is you don't have to do like a whole section. You can cut down each of those pieces and think of it like, for example, right here on this purple one, I chose to cut those diamonds in half, and then when I laid it up there, I put a gold piece in between on the final project, and it really I think looked so much better than if I would have chosen to put the entire diamond down together. So there's the whole thing put together. Isn't it pretty? So I'm going to burnish it down very gently because we've got a lot of texture there that we do not want to lose. So I'm just burnishing it down just to make sure that everything is adhered well. And now we are going to cut out our pieces. Now, the beauty of this project is you can either cut out your jewelry or whatever you're going to cut out and to make the stripes go side to side, or you can make them go at an angle. I don't think I would do it up and down, because if you don't have your stripes really straight, it's going to be very noticeable, and you can see mine are not. So I chose to do my pieces both. I have some diagonal and some of them with the stripes going side to side. So you can see here I'm just deciding how I'm going to have them laid out. And then I'm going to place this one down here. And then when I cut it out, I'm going to use a acrylic block because I want to get, I like to get firm pressure over the whole cutter. And because I'm cutting on paper, it makes it really nice. The clay stays down, and usually, sometimes it sticks a little bit, but for the most part it stays. So it's going to stick in the cutter here a little bit, but not that bad. So push it back down. So you can see here, the way I'm doing this, I'm going to get a lot of stuff on this one little sheet of, one little veneer. I didn't measure it, so I'm not sure how big it is, but in relation to my hand, you can see it's not very big. So there is how many pieces I've got out of all of this. Actually, I'm going to get a little bit more. I want to show you, I had a little bit of clay of the gold left over. So I took all the scraps, rolled them up, and used that as a backing, burnished that down on a small tile, and I'm going to put the leftover piece of gold on top of that. So I'm being careful when I put that down to make sure there's no bubbles underneath there, because we know that is the enemy of clay. And I'm going to use the small tribal shield cutter here from CreateAlong. This is my favorite cutter right now. I use it all the time. And again, acrylic block, and there we go. So those are all the pieces I ended up getting from all of it. So much jewelry. And so these are the pieces I made from them. So I had ended up with 3 pendants and a whole slew of earrings. So I ended up coating them with UV resin just to bring out all of that sparkle and shine. Isn't that gorgeous? But I have to say, the gold is my favorite. Look how that texture just comes through there. It's gorgeous. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial with products from the Go Bold subscription box from CreateAlong. If you would like to have fun with these products every month like I do, just subscribe at thecreatealong.com. Bye.